And now it's time for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and Michael Best Strategies.
Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And we're the Insiders. So, Scott, we had another Marquette poll come out. And give me your thoughts on what you think of the latest Marquette poll.
Well, in general, of course, the poll confirms what everyone expected in Wisconsin. We're going to have really close races for the United States Senate and for governor. Both of them were within the margin of error. But what the fascinating thing, I think, on the U.S. Senate race is that Ron Johnson has made a significant leap from the previous poll in August, which showed him down by 7, to now being supposedly ahead by 1. I think it's more appropriate to say that race is now a dead heat, but the movement all seems to be on Johnson's side there. In the race for governor, again, sort of a dead heat. Tony Evers has a slight lead over Tim Michels. But on that race, I think the important thing was, for the first time ever, we have seen Tony Evers' disapproval rating be higher than his approval rating. So during the course of this year, he started out at 50%, then 49, then 48, then 47, and now has dropped to 44% approval rating. That number keeps coming down. You kind of expect that during a campaign. Lots of negative ads will continue to drag that down. I would point out that Tim Michels is even further upside down than Tony Evers at this point. So I think both candidates will soon be upside down, with more people disapproving than approving. That's pretty typical for a hotly contested race. But it is the first time Tony Evers has been blessed with floating above the numbers of Biden and floating above the numbers of people who say the state is on the right track. That appears to have disappeared for Tony Evers, and it's probably not a good sign for an incumbent candidate. I think the other thing I would mention that was in the poll that I thought was interesting was where abortion ranked as an issue. It came in 6th on the list of issues of importance. Lots of other issues like inflation and healthcare and crime appeared before it in the polling as more important to voters. During the course of this election, I know Democrats want to make this election all about abortion, but the voters seem to think that inflation and the economy is the top issue.
I think that on Tony Evers, he's still running significantly above where Joe Biden is. I think that Scott is correct, as is the pollster himself. Charles Franklin said that he thinks that, given the environment that we're in, and I agree with this 100%. So, Scott, that you're going to see probably every candidate have their negatives higher than their positives. I think Ron Johnson will be the most extreme example of that. The question is whether he can be the cat with 9 lives and survive yet again in an environment where people really don't like him. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is, there are 2 things that I think are important to distinguish some of the facts that Scott gave you, and then some of the opinions. One is that I really think that when you see the numbers on abortion saying it's the 6th issue, that is not what I'm hearing. I think you have not seen a barrage of ads on it yet. I think that's because people want the more intense emotional issue to come up later in the campaign. And I think it will rise dramatically in terms of its importance. I am hearing from people who are doing doors in areas that are battleground areas in the state, saying that women are outraged by what's going on abortion, and they are saying that they will absolutely be turning out on this issue. And it's not only that they are feeling strongly about the issue, but actually that they're turning out on the issue. I think that will be changing, and you will see that in the Marquette polls. Let me put my marker down on that as a prediction. Number 2, the thing that's interesting, I think also this may relate to abortion, the intensity issue. For the first time ever, Democrats have a greater intensity and likelihood to turn out in this election. That, to me, is very significant, and I think that also will grow as we get closer to the election. Because, as Scott and I have often pointed out on this program, it's not simply the issue and your feeling on an issue. It's the emotional aspect of it, which is so important. And I think that's where you're going to see abortion take a more preeminent role as we move forward. If I'm a Democrat looking at these polls, I'm uncomfortable because it's close. But I would feel I'm in a better position compared to what we thought, say, 6 months ago with the congressional ballot test, which gives you the generic idea of where Democrats would be. and the off-year election with Joe Biden, historically, that's devastating. Democrats have survived that. Now the question is, can they win all these races?
Well, I think there'll probably be a couple more of these Marquette polls and lots of other polls between now and the election. So we'll have a lot more to talk about in the weeks to come.
See you next time.
You've been listening to The Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and Michael Best Strategies.